Hello, and welcome back to Games Benchmarked. Today we are comparing three AMD microarchitectures: Zen, Zen 2, and Zen 3. Why? I left out Zen Plus? There is couple of reasons. First, I do not have it. Second, performance jump compared to other architectures is really small, that is reflected in architecture's codename, Zen Plus. AMD did not want to market as new architecture, because it was not, and performance was not there either to support that. For this test, I am using 6-core 12-thread Ryzen 5 processors. 1600 is from Zen generation, 3600 from Zen 2, and 5600X from Zen 3. All processors are overclocked, so there isn't much room for extra performance. Let's start with productivity benchmarks. First set of benchmarks is in seconds, lower is better. Almost all tasks have 20% or more generational improvements, with only exceptions being Resolve and Blender on 5600X. Next set of benchmarks are in points. Higher is better, and as we can see, again, there is around 20% improvement from one generation to next. This is how it looks when company is trying their best to innovate and stay competitive. Let's hope AMD can keep up their innovations, and root for Intel too, so there is someone to keep AMD prices in check. Now it is time for gaming. I have used 9 games, newer and older titles. Some games are at 720p and some at 1080p. Not all games support my overlay perfectly with different resolution. But almost always I am CPU bound even with RTX 2060. But often even at 720p 5600X can come very close to full utilization of this mid-range GPU. As always, recording is done with GPU running the game. If you want most accurate results, skip to the end of each title. Those FPS numbers are captured without recording.
Stay out of my way.
First game is Witcher 3. This is the oldest game in my testing suite, but still very popular among gamers. And it is nice to see that all processors can deliver over 144 FPS. But improvements are clearly visible. 3600 is 17% faster than 1600, and 5600X is 27% faster. All processors deliver smooth experience, but 5600X has most spikes exceeding 30 milliseconds. Next game is Assassin's Creed, Odyssey. Biggest improvement is going from 1600 to 3600, 32%. Regards frame time consistency, 5600X was most inconsistent. Run this test multiple times, 5600X just cannot get good frame time interval in this title at 720p and low settings.
DB, take it out!
Operator, Lieutenant. Instruction given.
Damn it! Diddy! We just lost our backup! Shit! I'm down! I got you.
In Gears of War 5 it is utter devastation for each generation. 3600 is 56% faster than 1600 and 5600X is 25% faster than 3600. 5600X has most consistent frame time too. But do not get me wrong, 3600 and 1600 is although very consistent. Shadow of the Tomb Raider is another great generational improvement. 5600X is 39% ahead of 3600 and 69% ahead of 1600. Frame time looks good for all processors, but 5600X is a bit smoother. Red Dead Redemption 2 is very good at utilizing multiple threads. On average 5600X scores 41 FPS more than 3600. 1600 is only 14 FPS slower than 3600. All processors have very good and consistent frame times, without a single spike above 30 milliseconds.
An ecclesiastical extraction coming right up.
Ecclesiastical extraction? Good one.
Serious Sam 4 is one of the newest titles and one of the worst, optimization-wise. It is linear, like Doom, but performs like complicated open-world title. And in games like these Zen 2 and Zen 3 shines. 3600 is 34% faster, and 5600X is 75% faster than 1600. Unfortunately, frame time graph is a mess for all processors.
Is this why the zone is off limits? I mean, if all the packs here are like that. about we take the bridge to cross the railroad? It would save us a detour. Damn, too high. Hey, Artyom, help me get out there. Shit! Come up now.
Metro Exodus is another almost convincing win for, well, all AMD processors. They have no problem hitting 144 FPS or more. But 5600X is in its league of its own. Processor scores 147 FPS and 0.1% metric. And if we look how consistent frame times are, it looks close, but 5600X have couple of high spikes, which can be noticed as micro stutter, so there is some trade-off for ultra-high frame rate.
Sam, if you want to confirm you're headed the right way, check your compass. It'll never steer you wrong. Provided you have a destination, that is. Central wasn't just home to Bridges HQ. It was also the seat.
Death Stranding is one of the newest titles and it runs pretty well on all processors. Unfortunately for 5600X I am GPU bound, so gains are smaller than expected, only 9% over 3600. But when we are not GPU bound, first generation Zen processor starts to fall behind to Zen 2 and Zen 3. 1600 is losing 27% to 3600. Frame time is much smoother on 5600X. So I still have to give very convincing win for latest AMD hexacore. Last game is Total War, Troy. This is the only game where I deliberately chose to be GPU bound. It was mainly for two reasons. First, reducing quality drastically reduces CPU load. And second, I wanted to show how it looks when you are GPU bound. But, unfortunately 1600 could not fully utilize RTX 2060 throughout whole benchmark. But, it is very clearly visible how looks flatter frame time line. 1600 have much bigger frame time interval. So even if we look at average FPS, difference is only 10% between 1600 and 3600, or 5600X. Frame time interval is clearly showing much bigger difference. So, it is time to wrap this up. On average 5600X was 60% faster than 1600 and 25% faster than 3600, with Total War, Troy excluded. 3600 was 28% faster than 1600. Good news for 3 generations is how incredibly consistent they are, frame time wise. Of course AMD have done incredible engineering over a couple of years, but I am glad to see how well 1600 is aging. And it still has couple of years left. But, if you want that 100 plus FPS experience, have monitor and GPU that can support that, then upgrade is a must. Even if you are somewhat GPU bound, 5600X can provide better frame time intervals as shown in Total War, Troy. One issue I mentioned in my previous video is random frame time spikes for 15600X, and I actually think it could be I/O issue. Maybe my RAM is too slow. I have cheapest 32000 CL16 kit. Only downside is that 5600X costs 50% more than first 2 generations of Zen. That has some consequences. For example, if we look only from value perspective, it would not be wise to upgrade from 3600 to 5600X. Actually, if we look at cost per frame, then clear winner is 3600. Just to clarify, my calculations are based on each processor's MSRP. If you are building new computer, then you can get 5600X, no worries. It will cost only extra 5 to 10%, but it will be justified. Thanks for watching and staying until the end. If you liked it, hit the like button. If you have any question, please post them in comments. I will be very happy to answer all of the question. If you do not want to miss my next video, consider subscribing. Goodbye, stay safe and keep playing video games.